On Christmas Eve in 2013, 18-year-old Alexis Valdez was simmering with anger. 6 months earlier, he had moved into his aunt's basement apartment on North Kildare Avenue in Chicago, sharing the home with her and her boyfriend, 41-year-old Sylvester Diaz-Hernandez. The arrangement came with clear expectations. Alexis was to go to school, work, and contribute to household expenses. But Alexis had quickly abandoned these responsibilities, igniting tensions that escalated into frequent arguments. By December, his aunt and Sylvester had reached their limit, and they told Alexis he had to move out. This ultimatum sent him into a rage. His fury boiled over on Christmas Eve, leading him to commit an unspeakable act of violence. What Alexis did that night would not only shock his family, but also leave a community horrified and searching for answers. In his twisted mind, he believed his actions would serve as the ultimate message, a horrific present for his aunt to discover on Christmas Day. On Christmas Eve 2013, 18-year-old Alexis Valdez reached his breaking point. As his aunt attended a holiday party, Alexis stayed behind, drinking heavily, becoming more and more frustrated at being told he had to move out. His resentment only grew when Sylvester Diaz-Hernandez, his aunt's boyfriend, came home and discovered Alexis had finished all the beer in the house. The two men then went to a convenience store to buy more, but Alexis had already made a sinister decision. Before leaving, he secretly hid a hammer by the door. When they returned, Alexis grabbed the weapon and unleashed his rage on Sylvester, smashing his skull repeatedly until he lay lifeless. But Alexis wasn't done. Alexis then blocked the windows, turned up the music, and began dismembering Sylvester's body. He used a knife and saw to mutilate the remains, even gouging out Sylvester's eyes and cutting off his ears, nose, mouth, arm, and head. In a horrifying final act, Alexis placed Sylvester's severed head on his aunt's bed, his twisted idea of a present for her to find when she came home on Christmas Day. In the early hours of Christmas Day, Alexis, exhausted from his gruesome actions, made a chilling call to 911. He informed the dispatcher of a dead body in the basement of his home. When asked if he had attempted CPR, Alexis laughed and said, "The victim has no head." At around 2 a.m., police arrived at the Chicago residence to find Alexis sitting calmly on the front porch, covered in blood and holding an iPad. When an officer approached and asked, "What's going on?" Alexis replied, "Shouldn't you arrest me before you ask me questions?" The officer asked why Alexis thought he should be arrested, and Alexis replied, "Because I just killed a man and he's in the basement." He then threw the iPad to the ground, shattering its screen, before adding that he would have killed his aunt as well if she had come home and discovered what he had done. Inside the home, police found the dismembered remains of Sylvester Diaz-Hernandez, including his severed head and mutilated body parts, left on the aunt's bed. Alexis was immediately taken into custody, charged with first-degree murder, and held without bond, despite having had no previous criminal record. In one of the most harrowing cases to pass through the George Layton Criminal Courthouse, Alexis Valdez initially pleaded not guilty to the brutal Christmas Day murder of Sylvester Diaz-Hernandez. Prosecutors detailed the unimaginable crime during the hearing before Judge Mauricio Araujo, describing how Alexis, fueled by rage at being asked to move out of his aunt's home, bludgeoned Sylvester to death with a hammer before gruesomely dismembering his body. Prosecutors explained how Alexis not only confessed to smashing Sylvester's skull, but also admitted he mutilated the body and left the remains on his aunt's bed as a gruesome present. Years later, in 2017, Alexis Valdez, now aged 21, changed his plea to guilty before Judge Vincent Gargan, and Alexis was sentenced to 33 years in prison. Following the tragic and senseless murder of Sylvester Diaz-Hernandez, a GoFundMe campaign was launched by his family to cover the costs of his funeral. The fundraising page revealed that Sylvester, just 41 years old, did not have life insurance, leaving his loved ones grappling with both emotional and financial burdens. Sylvester's journey to the United States began as a teenager when he moved from Mexico to Chicago in search of opportunity. Despite the challenges of divorce and relocating between Chicago and Atlanta, he remained a devoted father and a cherished member of his family. Described as a warm and loving individual, Sylvester was said to love movies, takeout food, soccer, and family barbecues. His loss left an irreplaceable void, especially for his children, who adored their father. His 17-year-old daughter, Selena Diaz, said, "My father was a good person. He never did anything to anyone. He was a good father. He did what he could for me and my brother. He did the best to provide for us after me and my brother lost our mother. All he wanted was to be with me and my brother. He didn't deserve this at all. He was a fun and loving person. He loved joking around with us." His son, 18-year-old Sylvester Abel Diaz, said, "On Christmas Eve, me and a few more family members got the last call we will ever receive from him. He called me at 4:05 a.m. and left me a voicemail. Hearing that voicemail makes me want to hug him really bad. He always told us he loved us. He would say it a million times. He was big-boned but had a soft heart." He described his father with the saying, "Dad, a son's first hero, a daughter's first love." Sylvester Diaz-Hernandez was not only the biological father to 2 children, but he also took on the role of a father figure to 4 stepdaughters after their mother tragically passed away from lupus more than a year prior to his death. His stepdaughter Melissa Edwards said, "We lost our mother in November 2012 to lupus, and he was there every step of the way. Now that he was taken from us, all 6 of us kids are left with no parent figures in our lives. He will be truly missed." Not much else is known about this case, and I personally still have so many questions. The actions of Alexis Valdez were cruel and selfish beyond comprehension. His aunt provided him with a home, asking only for basic responsibilities, like contributing to bills and working towards a better future. Instead of showing gratitude, Alexis refused, and when faced with accountability, snapped in the most brutal and horrific way imaginable. The sheer brutality of this crime, taking place during the holidays, a time meant for family and love, makes it even harder to comprehend. Sylvester was clearly a very loved man, and my heart goes out to his loved ones, especially his 6 children, who are now left without their father as well as without their mother. Rest in peace, Sylvester Diaz-Hernandez.